Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hey, Heather. What I wanted to do over this summer set, over the next 8 weeks, 7 to 8 weeks, is give you actual tools on how to navigate this amazing time of year, and share with you the system that helped me shift how I looked at nutrition. So for me, I've done it too, where it was very much, all or nothing. I've done not a ton of dieting, but I have done some. Um, but I would say the one that I was most consistent with and actually had the greatest impact on how I felt was being gluten-free and dairy-free. And this is before I started my relationship with Michael. And it was pretty easy to maintain when I lived by myself and I didn't have to worry about anybody else in my household. And I will say that it had a significant impact on how I felt. So I know that that is a clue for me. But what happened is, when we moved in together, and at the time we had his then teenage son living with us, and they were both carboholics. Like we had pastries everywhere, and that's kind of like my thing. I like sweets, specifically not like candy, but like pastries, like cake and stuff like that. And it was just littered all over our counters. I'm like, why do we need like six of these? I don't understand. And so I had a really hard time being able to navigate that. And my coach, who has been one of my business coaches for probably 10 years, who was into fitness, uh, started a program called Moderation 365. And so basically, and we have done a call on part of this before, but what I wanted to do is go deep dive into it. So we're going to do a 3-part series on this. I'm going to walk you through the very basic tools today and share a little bit about how I've implemented it. And this is literally how I eat now. So let's dive in. If I can get a plug. There we go. Uh-oh. Okay. I think you guys can see that. Yep. I think we are good. So this is the first part of a 3-part series. I titled it Navigating Vacations, Barbecues, and Booze Without Sacrificing Results. And I'm going to give you specific tools in order to do this. So again, this is a lifestyle approach. What resonated with me was that this is no longer like a diet. This isn't a 30-day reset. This isn't a 7-day cleanse. It's none of that. It's not completely eliminating food groups out of the way that you eat. I will say that I am mostly gluten-free, but I don't freak out about it if I get gluten in my diet. I am mostly dairy-free. But I don't freak out about it if I get some dairy. In fact, it was funny. Sunday, Michael made some mashed potatoes. He's like, "Hey, can I throw some cheese in this?" I'm like, "Absolutely." Like, yes, cheese is good. So it really helped me find that sweet spot of honoring the things that do make me feel my best, but also not being neurotic about it and being miserable about it or on and off. That was the other thing. I'm no longer on or off. I just kind of doing my thing. Let me turn the AC back on. It's warm. So Moderation 365 is a method that helps you learn your own body and how it responds to certain foods so you can eat healthy and geared towards your goals, and stress-free for good. So how and why and when to use moderation. I will say that for me, when my one-on-one clients would come to me or still come to me, in most cases, in almost all cases, when we're looking at nutrition, I need to be able to see what's actually going on. They log. They learn to log. Some of them have food log before. Most of them don't know how to do it appropriately or effectively. And so we go through a period of me teaching them how to food log. So there is merit there. I don't discount that. When I have one-on-one clients that we need to figure out why their body is responding the way that it is, I absolutely have them food log. And also, I teach them how to take breaks from food logging so that, and it's kind of funny because in the beginning they're like, this is really hard. And then once they get it going, Then when I'm like, all right, what I want you to do is take a break. We're just going to spot check your nutrition a little bit. And that freaks them out because they feel like that's their power. Like they got to have that food logging. At the end of the day, we want you to be able to do this without having to rack up numbers all the time. So I believe that this is great for those cases. I think you should at some point track well so you understand what's going on, and then also learn how to do this based on your biofeedback. Remember when we talk about biofeedback, that's going to be your SHMECT, right? So your sleep, hunger, mood, energy, cravings, digestion, basically taking how your body is feeling and figuring out how to adjust things to keep you feeling good. And energy is good, not craving, things like that. I don't know why this is not showing me. Okay. So who's it for and when to reach for it? If you are someone who has a history of diet jumping, you do this diet, you do this diet, and this didn't work, so you're off that one, so then you're on to the next plan. Every summer is a fresh restart, or after summer is a fresh restart. January is a fresh restart. That's different than kind of making small edits. If you are going like all or nothing, if you find that you're like in or out, off or on, probably a good time to at least consider this. If you really, and this also for a lot of my ladies, just want the food freedom. It's a way to reduce the food obsession and ditch all or nothing and stop thinking that food is bad, right? This is bad. Still, I get this regularly from ladies who are like, oh, I had a bad day, or I did, this thing and it was bad, or whatever, this bad food. I'm like, they're like, stop. Like, it's not. It's just a choice that you made. Would you do it again? Like, that's what I want to know, right? Did it give you the result that you wanted? So we also look at biofeedback instead of just tracking. So it runs on hunger, energy, and cravings instead of counting and logging every single bite. This was a big one for me because I've definitely done tracking, but I don't want to live that way. I'm not that coach. Like, I'm definitely not packing my meals with me when I travel. I'm definitely not over here weighing and measuring everything all the time. I don't live that way, and nor do I want to. So it's also good for when you have breaks in life, right? You can use it for vacation, summer, you can use it over holidays, anytime where maybe you are doing some tracking, but you just need to get a break from that. This is also a good chance to do that and a good time to do that as well. What it is not is intuitive eating. And I get this a lot. A lot of people are like, oh, I intuitively eat. And I'm like, okay, intuitive eating is like, what if you don't understand blood sugar regulation? And you're just like, oh, my body wants these carbohydrates. It must need them. But you don't understand that your blood sugar is doing all kinds of wacky stuff. And that's why you're craving too many carbs, right? So if you're only eating the way that you feel like eating, chances are you're not hitting the mark where we need to be. Intuitive eating is a broad concept. It doesn't have any practical strategies to help you find that sweet spot. It's also, and I had to put this in here, it's not a free pass to eat like an asshole and think that you're going to see a physique change or have health changes, right? So it's definitely not those things. I'm going to actually give you some strategies that you can use to be able to start this process. And it is a process that you got to practice. So the first one is the DIS scale. And if you were on the last call that I talked about this, we talked about the DIS scale. It's basically going from on one side of the scale, deprivation, where you feel like you have to be perfect. It's I'm going to start on Monday. I'm cutting out this, this, and this, and I'm eating like this, and I've got my meals prepped. I have to be perfect, right? And then what happens is the other side of that scale is indulgence. Well, I ruined it, so I might as well go all out. We've all done it. I've done it, right? We're like, well, I screwed that up. I might as well go have the ice cream. Or if you screwed up on Friday, well, I might as well enjoy the weekend. Or you have pizza on too much pizza at lunch. And you're like, well, I might as well blow off the rest of the day, right? So I will tell you this, that at first I didn't quite believe this until I could actually see it. And I challenge you to do this, is that indulgence always starts from the deprivation. And all you have to do is pay attention. When you start overindulging, if you look back, it's because something is deprived. Now, that could be that you didn't get enough protein and water and balance those things out. And so you're dealing with sugar cravings, but that it always stems from some form of deprivation. Both of these are extremes. And the higher you swing on one side, the harder you will absolutely swing on the other. The goal is to cut to the middle. Moderation choices where you're not depriving, you're also not overstuffing. So the answer is discernment, right? Learning to be discerning, because you have a total mental capacity on what you can focus on. The brain requires a ton of energy, and so you need to be discerning like where you're actually spending that energy. And this one's a big one. I see this a lot with clients, but it's even bigger on social media. If you pay attention, you're going to see it. Not every nutritional decision carries the same weight in the actual outcome. And I have literally had ladies like argue with me on this. They don't. And so I put lists like this up. I used to laugh about ketchup, like ketchup's not the problem, but things like how much sodium is in a food. It has some weight to it, but it's low impact. So it doesn't really it's not worth the brain power to reduce all that, right? Food and nutrient timing, right? And I don't remember who asked me this one a couple of weeks ago in terms of getting enough protein right after a workout. And for a long time, it was like, all right, 30 minutes right after, you got to get enough protein, you got to get carbohydrates. If you're a bodybuilder competing, then maybe that matters. But in general, the general population, it actually doesn't matter. It's whatever works for you. The type of carbohydrate, protein and fat, also highly independent, right? So it doesn't actually matter in the grand scope of things. This is one of them that really gets people going: organic, grass-fed, wild-caught, or not. Now, if I have a choice and it's there and it's not astronomically expensive, yeah, I'm going to lean into organic. I'm going to lean into those things, but it doesn't give you as much in terms of actual outcome as you may think, right? So it's like, what's more important are the things we're going to talk about here in a second. The type of sweeteners you use. Some people can do monk fruit. Some people can do stevia. I like coconut sugar, and I like regular sugar. That's my favorite sweeteners, or bananas or maple syrup. But I don't use a lot of them, but they work for me. My body can process them, and that works for me. It's not as important in the grand scheme of things. Certain supplements and fads, it's all out there. Additives and preservatives, convenience food versus scratch. I see this a lot on social media because you guys if you're on social media, you've seen this where somebody will go to like Costco. And actually, there was one lady that I started talking to about this. Her account went viral over this because she did a Costco haul showing everybody like, here's great protein options and some vegetables that you can get. And it was all great food, right? And she got blasted from people who were like, oh, this is all processed food and all that plastic. And I mean, yeah, that is true. And if you have the time to not do those things, and it doesn't require an abundance of actual energy that you could be spending on doing other things that are also in alignment with your health goals, then great, more power to you. But that it doesn't in the actual outcome hold as much weight is what most people think. I would rather, there are lots of like minimally processed foods. People will talk about this with like protein powder, like, it's processed. And I'm like, yeah, but a lot of them are minimally processed, right? So you want to kind of weigh that in and go, listen, I don't want to get crazy about this. What I do want to do is make sure that most of my energy is spent on high impact actions. Those are going to be the behaviors and choices that actually change how you look, feel, and perform. And we make those what we call your daily nutritional commitments, or your DNCs. So this is the actual tool that you can use. Your daily nutritional commitments, there are just three eating behaviors that keep us mostly on track. There's no hard rules, but there's definitely flexibility built in. Each one should fit the 3 E's. The first, it has to be enjoyable. If you don't actually like what you're doing and it sucks, just toss it. because it's not going to work. You're not going to keep doing it over and over again. You want these to be no-brainer. I've had the same DNCs for 6-ish years, and there was only one change. And prior to that, I had doing it for a long time too. And I'll show you what they are. So they have to be things that are enjoyable. They have to be effortless. So a lot of times when my clients we would talk about DNCs, they would be like, okay, I'm gonna commit to eating 150 grams of protein a day. And I'm like, is that effortless for you? And they're like, no. And I'm like, then that's not it. And they're like, well, I definitely like, I'm like, what's no brainer? They're like 100 grams. I'm like, fantastic, but that's not enough. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is it effortless, and does it help steady hunger, cravings, energy, and blood sugar, which means, is it effective? That's how we hold this all up. Is it effective in making sure that my blood sugar is stable, that my energy levels are good, that I'm satiated, I'm not battling cravings all day long? Is it effective in doing that? And that's how you put this all together. So your big levers, as always, are going to be, are you getting sufficient water? Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting adequate fiber? And outside of that, as for the rest, do your best. You're just going to do your best. So when clients who come to me and say, I'm going to say 150 grams of protein, I'm like, no. And they're like, okay, how about 100? Because I know I can do that. Yes, that doesn't mean only do 100. Still do your best. Still aim for the 150, but it's a commitment. That's what we're looking for. So I'll give you the examples of the 3 that I have, and I'll tell you the one change that I made. This was, like I said, probably about 6 years ago. So my daily DNCs, they're the same, is no matter what I'm doing, and this is literally, I don't even have to think about it, I've been doing it for so long, is I have some version of my Stanley cup. I fill it first thing in the morning. I go to the bathroom, and then I head to the water, and I put water in my Stanley. I add BCAAs. We can talk about it at the end of this if you guys want me to talk about BCAAs. I put a little bit of lemon juice in it, and I suck that down. And before I literally will stand in the kitchen and I'll drink probably to about here before I ever do anything else, because I'm just trying to hydrate. And just simply by doing that, like in general, like I'm feeling pretty good. And in most cases, unless I'm having to be at the gym by 6, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And I'll have a little bit of coffee later on, but I don't really drink that much coffee because I'm hydrated first thing in the morning, and then I'm awake and I'm alert, right? So that one is easy. I can do that anywhere. I can do it at home. I can do it when I travel. Like I did it when we went on our 10-day trip. I just grabbed water bottles and I was like, I got to take these with me. And then I would fill that up, and that's the first thing I do every single morning. Then the other thing I do is that I just make sure I get protein for breakfast. So when I go to Arizona, there's like Pop-Tarts and pastries and donuts, and most of them don't really appeal to me. Every now and then they'll get donuts or something, and like from a bakery or something, I'm like, oh, I want a bite of that. But I will allow myself to have those things, at least a little bit of them, but I always make sure I have protein first. So it is one of the few things that I will carry on with me, is that I do typically take some protein bars, and I do typically take a little bit of protein powder with me and a shaker cup. So that way, if I don't have access to anything else, I at least can get 20 to 30 grams of protein in before I eat anything else. So when we talk about, hit those 3, do your best, right? After that, for me, this could look like I hit my 20 to 30 grams. I did this on the road, actually, is I had my little shaker cup. I do my water first, and then in my shaker cup, I would put 20, 30 grams of protein. And then I would pour some of that over a little bit of granola. And that was my breakfast to start. And it worked, right? So it wasn't perfect, but at least got my protein in. And that is a DNC for me. Like I don't just go eat pancakes, right? Like I make sure I get at least 20 to 30 grams of protein. And honestly, it's effortless for me. I don't have to think very much about it. And then the third one is the one that I changed. When I first did these, I took a cue from my coach then, and she, one of her DNCs was she would eat a big ass salad every day. So she's like, I have one big ass salad every day. That way, make sure that I get a ton of veggies in. And what I found after a couple of years was that because I was doing all these mixed salads that you can get from the store because it's easy, right? they're harder to digest because they're raw. And so it was, and I was doing a veggie based protein powder. And so I was having trouble digesting it. So I do still do salads, but I don't do them every day. And I switched mine to eating until 80% full. We'll talk about how to do this. It is a practice. It's not something that you just get out of the gate. And what I did is, as she instructed to do, is just start when you're eating meals, just start practicing. And it's harder to do than I'm going to tell you, is just leaving 2 to 3 bites left on your plate. I know we've all been taught to clean your plate. And so you're just kind of looking at it, you're like, but it's just 3 bites. Is it really going to matter? It's not about the calories, it's about the practice. And so I practiced that. And what it did is it allowed me to slow things down enough to where I could gauge how full I was. And once you start doing it, it actually gets easier because what you realize is you don't like that feeling of just being so stuffed. I was like, oh, I feel better this way. And I'll give you some tricks on I think they're further into the slides because what happens is when you eat to 80% full and then you're looking at this food, and I will do this too, is I'll eat to 80% full and then my brain still does this. Was like, ooh, what if you get hungry in an hour? And then I go, well, you can eat more. You give yourself permission. If I get hungry and I want more, I'll have more. We did this last weekend. Michael, for those of you who are in Seattle, Michael loves Moto Pizza. If you live in Seattle, you've been there, you know it's delicious. I like it too. It's I don't like a lot of bread, but it is really good pizza. And you go and you get this like really big slice of pizza. And so I told him, I was like, yeah, we can go sit out there and I'll get us some pizzas. And I did, but I only ate half. And he like scarfed his down and I ate half. He's like, how do you do that? I'm like, I just slow down. And if I want more, I'll eat more. And I think later that afternoon, it was in the refrigerator. I took a couple more bites and that's all I wanted. But it's a practice. So you just got to start like, if you're going to do this one, I recommend like just practice leaving a little bit of food on your plate. So it is a good one. So just 3, and they need to be repeatable. So they're not ones that you do Monday through Friday, but then you can't do on the 4th of July. I promise you, I'm going to have my water on 4th of July. I'm going to have my protein, and I will eat to 80%. I would say maybe a couple times a year, I end up eating past 80%, but it's pretty rare. Like I don't really overeat anymore because I don't like that feeling. So you just got to find the ones that work for you. So here's how you can create your own DNCs. The first thing I do that I would recommend you do is I want you to list everything that you would eat left to your own devices. All of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, the perfect, the not perfect, I want it to be realistic. And here's why. If you have been working with me for a while and you've been working on protein, there's got to be some things in there that you're like, and I get this from clients who are like, I fell off the wagon. And then I'm like, well, tell me what that means. And then when we start going through it, it's like, yeah, you ate a little bit extra, but like you also had protein for breakfast. You also were very protein forward. You also made sure you got some vegetables in there. Like, right. So it's not as bad as they think. So what you do is you list it all out according to everything that you would do without any rules. And then you're going to go back and circle the things that are most impactful that you're already doing. And by impactful, we mean satiation, hunger, energy cravings, how you feel. You're going to circle those, and then you're going to kind of flag the ones that don't really move any outcomes. That's the first step. Circle the ones that are most impactful that you're already doing. Then the second step is you're going to break useless rules. So you're going to list the rules that you've been trying to follow. Now, cross out the ones that don't matter to actual outcomes and permission not to sweat the small stuff. Now, here's what this means. Now, some of you may be thinking like, I've been told I should be getting at least 120 grams of protein. Well, that's a rule, right? So what you're going to do is doesn't mean that you're not going to hit 120 grams of protein. What it means is that that's not going to be included in your DNC. We're getting rid of rules, whatever your rules are regarding food. I'm trying to think of what some of the new ones are. You guys have food rules? Do any of you have food rules that you've been playing around with? I know, like, what's one? Like 4 to 5 hours between meals. That could be a food rule. I generally do that, but it's not hardcore, right? So those two things, like if you're doing any rules that you've told me that you have to follow, I want you to write those down as well. So as we move into this, the thing to understand is that moderation is satisfaction. And here's how that works. For most people who look at this, and a lot of clients who come to me, there are criticisms, but those criticisms are the point, right? So a lot of times I'll hear there's just too much wiggle room for me to actually follow this. There's too much, it's too permissive. I'll end up eating everything. We're going to go through, I don't know if it's the next call or the last one, where you actually pick some things and it's called exposure therapy. I'll end up eating everything. I had to learn how to do this with pastries. So, and that there's no hard data to track towards my goal, right? So for a lot of women, the challenge is it's easier mentally to just go, no carbs, than to do this work. But the no carbs has a lifespan. And for most people, it's going to be pretty short. And that deprivation then swings you in the other direction, right? So what we want to do is go, okay, how do I find that place in the middle? The criticisms are the strengths, because when you do this the right way, it gets you in touch with your feedback. So then eating becomes a practice, not a protocol. Say that one again. Eating becomes a practice, not a protocol. There are strategies and protocols that can help you, but the problem is that if you can't figure out how to fit those protocols into your everyday life and melt them in a way that works for you, you're always going to be swinging on and off. And so this instead allows you to be able to create the practice so that you can figure out the things that work for you. And summertime is a great time to do it. So it doesn't have an amount. It's not like eat 1,600 calories. It has a feeling, and that feeling is moderation. No comments. Okay. So this is the satisfaction scale. This is how you can feel this out, right? So from a 1 to 10, a 1 is like, I'm hungry, right? 10 is I'm stuffed. What you're looking for is I'm good. Okay, good. So a couple things on this. You got to pay attention to the feeling of I'm good. Could I eat more? Yes, but I'm good. And so following that, you're going to get, oh, it's so yummy, just finish it. You're going to get those thoughts. But the goal is to at least recognize where I'm good is first and start practicing walking away from the food. I do this in restaurants all the time, where I hit I'm good and I just kind of like push it off to the side. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need any more. And it started by leaving a couple of bites on the table, right? So once I'm like good, I just stop. Now, if we sit there long enough, or if I really liked the food, I may take it home and I give myself permission. Like if I'm really hungry later, I'll eat more, because that's how you can get yourself to push it away. If I want more later, I can have it. I'm not depriving. I'm just learning to stop it. I'm good. The other thing to keep in mind is that meals don't happen in isolation. One plate is part of a whole day and a whole weekend. And what that means is a lot of times what's happening in the afternoon is a result of what you did in the morning, which is why one of my DNCs, two of my DNCs are morning based. Because I know if I get my blood sugar good out of the gate, it's easier to maneuver the rest of the day. So meals don't work in isolation that way, in terms of everything you eat is going to affect your blood sugar, energy levels, cravings, hunger for the rest of the day. So you want to be able to learn how to start this and understand how it's affecting the rest of the day, if that makes sense. Okay, so here's how you can increase satisfaction, right? And then we'll talk about like there's different kind of things that people like. One, you can add dietary fats as condiments. I love adding cheese to stuff now. I don't do a lot of cheese, but if I'm doing some kind of rice bowl, or if I'm putting something in a gluten-free tortilla, I'll melt just a little bit of cheese. Sometimes I'll put it in a salad, right? So you can drizzle olive oil. You can do a little bit of dressing, maybe like a little bit of avocado because it gives it that creamy texture, right? dietary fats are very satisfying. So that's one way to do it. The taste factor. Chase the experience you actually want. I have a lot of ladies when they're giving me their feedback will say that they're still dealing with cravings. They're like, I just want something after I want a little sweet after every meal. And I'm like, okay, well, are you trying like a square of chocolate? Are you trying a small bite of something? And they're like, yeah, and then I'm fine, but I just don't want the craving. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting sugar and wanting something sweet after you eat. It's what you choose to do with that experience. So make it pleasurable instead of saying, no, I can't, that's bad. Right? I keep cookies and what do we have in there right now? Ice cream. We got ice cream a couple weeks ago. And so after lunch, I'll have like half a cookie or a couple spoonfuls of ice cream because I want to. And I just want something sweet. And then I'm like, I don't feel deprived. I just move on. Sometimes it's a mouth feel. Sometimes you want something frothy or smooth. So with my coffee, I don't do again a lot of coffee, but I'll do, and I'm actually doing half calf now. So I'll do cold brew, like I'll put like 4 ounces or whatever that is in there, and then I'll add even more of the decaf. But then I add these vanilla protein shake, like a little bit of that, and then I put my creamer on top and I froth it so it's nice and creamy and frothy, and it's so satisfying. Sometimes I'll take those little tortilla chips that are salad toppers and I'll put those in my meals because I want the crunchy, right? So you'll have like a mouth feel that you want. How you eat it matters as much as what you eat. So maybe I know a lot of ladies like their coffee in the morning, right? So it's like, okay, what is the ritual that I can build around this that makes it very pleasant? It's appealing to me. So you're not feeling deprived. And then you want to work in what we call preemptive cheats. These alleviate a craving with a healthier workaround on purpose before the craving runs the show. The goal is to keep that craving in check. So one of the things that you can do is take the edge off before you walk into these barbecues or you're walking into some social thing where you know there's going to be a ton of food. You don't walk into the cookout starving. You walk in feeling satiated already. And yes, that could be maybe a handful of nuts, or it could be half a protein bar, or even a whole protein bar. Something that is going to help you manage your blood sugar before you go in, right? So we're preemptively managing this. You can build in nutritional relief, a planned, satisfying bite chosen ahead of the craving. I don't really wait until after I'm dealing with a ton of cravings after my lunch and dinner. I just have something small because I know it's coming. And if I can catch it and satisfy myself, it's done, right? So you're thinking about it ahead of time. That's why I keep them in the house. And then keep the rhythm. You want to eat similarly, not exactly the same, but similarly on the weekend and on vacation as you do during the week. And I see this a lot where Monday through Thursday, you're good. And then Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday is just a train wreck. It's like, no, let's bridge that gap and make sure that they look very similar. And that means there's pizza on Tuesday, not just on the weekends. It means that there's a protein-based breakfast in the morning on a Saturday. You just bleed those two together. You blend them together so that there's not a big swing between the two states. This is about knowing your type. I'd be curious to see which one you think you are. So some people like rich food and they're going to lean more into dietary fats. They like creamy things. They like fats. They like the avocado. They like the creams. They like the cheese. They just tend to go more towards dietary fats. They're flavor forward. They like steak instead of chicken, salmon instead of, ground turkey. So they're flavor forward, but they can get by with less volume of food. Then there's volume people. And if you guys want to share in the chat, I'm curious to see if you know who you are. Usually you'll just know right away. Or there's volume people. And that just means I want more food on my plate. They're going to be lower calorie. You're looking at protein and carbs, and they're satisfied by the sheer amount. I would say up until probably 6 months ago, I was always a volume person. I didn't eat a lot of fat by nature. I just would focus on carbohydrates. It made me feel the best. What I figured out, just because things change as we age, and some medications that I'm on, is that I realized that I was turning into somebody who was just always hungry because I wasn't getting enough dietary fats. And I also, in the past, have not processed them well, but I've been working on um, getting bile production up and all of those good things. And so I started adding more dietary fat to my diet. And so now I've actually kind of switched to where I can get away with, I don't eat as often during the day. I used to eat 5, 6 times a day, lots of volume, but now it's not as much, but it's definitely more fat forward. Not crazy, but it definitely is more than it used to be. So you just got to figure out like, where am I the most satisfied? For me, going back to volume at this point, I think would drive me a little crazy because I realized like I was just hungry all the time. So identify who you are and then lean into that side. So the honest question, we talked about this. If I eat this now and still binge later, what's going to happen? It's going to happen. First of all, when you're learning to do this, you have to allow for the practice. So when I first learned how to do this, I've got pastries all over my counter, and I went from like I can't touch those. I literally cannot touch those. And I went from that to being somebody who would just plow through like 4 muffins in an hour because I didn't know how to turn that off. Right. And so that's scary and frustrating. Like, oh my God, like I have no control. I had to go through it too, where I just was like, okay, like I just got to stick with this because what will happen is at some point you take that food off the pedestal and it lowers your desire for it and it just becomes food. I just was like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. Right? Because I just still made sure that I was getting enough protein. I still made sure I was getting enough fiber. I still made sure I was getting enough water. But then and it didn't even take that long, like less than a week. And I just was like, oh, like I just don't even want them that much. Right? Now I will say this too. What will happen is you start to do better and then you have another episode where you're like, wow, and you eat all the things, but you recover faster. So where before it might have been 4 days, the next time I did it, it was like one sitting. And then I was like, ugh, don't stop. Like you're good. Right. So you just get better every time you try it. And you really do. I remember God, years ago, I posted something, Michael and I were going on vacation and we stopped and got a couple donuts and I got two and I put it on my stories. Like I had taken, some people are mad that I threw it away, but I took like a couple bites of each donut because I just wanted to know what the taste is. And then I tossed them. And some people were like, that's so wasteful, which I'm like, okay, whatever, to your opinion. But the second part was that people were like, how? How do you do that? I could never do that. And I can tell you that that was hard for me to learn how to do, but now I can take a bite of anything, right? And just be like, okay, this tastes good, and now I'm done. So the more we are satisfied, the less likely we are to binge in the moments when willpower is drained, late at night, after a long beach day at the back end of an open bar, right? So you just have to allow for the practice and know that there's nothing wrong with you. Just like when you started lifting weights, you got to learn how to do it, and it's going to take a little bit of practice. So for your next move, before we meet again, what I suggest that you do is identify your 3 preemptive cheats that are your go-to satisfying workarounds for this season. So if you know that you're going to be going to a lot of barbecues, like what are some preemptive cheats that you can start to work with? If you know in the afternoons, like you get tired and you need a little sugar, what's a preemptive cheat that kind of helps get you through that afternoon? And then decide how you're going to use them. Is it prior to a cocktail? Is it going to a barbecue? Is it a vacation dinner? Like, where are these 3 preemptive cheats? Just look at the way that you live and go, this is where I fall off, and go, here's something I'm going to try. It may work, it may not. The only way you're going to know is if you actually give it a shot. I do, and I forgot to put this on here too, I do recommend that you start kind of looking at your DNCs so that next time we get on this call, I can help you work through them, because the tendency that is what people do is that their DNCs the first time they do it are too strict because they're thinking like, I need to hit this. And it's like I said, with the protein, the goal is they should be pretty effortless. They should be things that you're already pretty much doing. And that no matter what situation you're in, you could do them. Whether you're traveling, whatever, that you could do them. So those would be the two things: preemptive cheats, DNCs. Start to work on those. This is just part one of the three-part series. I want to give you actual strategies and things that you can use as we go through these summer months, so you can still enjoy the summer and not have to think too hard about it. So, questions that you might have. Anybody?
So going back to the 80% target,
Mhm.
is that just when you're eating out or somewhere that's not home?
Yep, I do it when I eat it. It's all the time.
But then even at home, it's like, aren't you kind of portioning your food and then you're still leaving 20%?
Um, I just I just put food on a plate. I don't count it. I don't track it at this point, unless I'm in an intentional deficit, which doesn't happen very often. But I just put food on a plate and then I eat till 80%. So a good example, I, for the most part, had know how to portion myself. And then I eat slow. So I'm usually the last one eating because I've learned to chew. I actually chew my food now. And so I eat slow enough that I can tell. And if you're ever out with me, you'll notice like I just stop a couple times and I don't have to think about it anymore. I just kind of stop. And what it does is it gives me a second to go, are you good before you finish? And if I still can, if I'm not quite at that 8, then I'll eat a little bit more. When Michael gets me a plate, it's always too much food. So I rarely finish a plate that he gives me. Um, but it's more about, I would say, if you're just starting, this is that Jess that asked this.
Yeah.
If you're just starting, just dish it and then practice leaving a couple bites, because that alone is going to mess with your head.
Okay.
Start there. And then as you're going through it, just go, okay, am I eating slow enough that I can tell when I'm satisfied?
I'm laughing at that because every meal is just I'm scarfing it down.
Yeah. That used to be me. But I'm like, oh, no wonder you're bloated all the time. Like, maybe chew your food. It's crazy. So yeah, I would just slow it down and practice it.
Okay.
I would start there. Good question. Anybody else? Comments, questions?